Hey guys, today I have a review for you. So the book I'm going to be reviewing today is Somewhere in Time by Richard Matheson, and if the title sounds familiar to you, then it's probably because you've heard of the movie that came out in 1980 by the same name, and it was based on the book, which I'm also going to talk about. Like I said, the author is Richard Matheson, and if you've heard of him before, it is probably because he wrote a book called I Am Legend, which a few years back was turned into a movie with Will Smith. So I know when you look at this book, you're probably going, oh god, it's a romance novel, because, let's face it, this cover is ugly and looks like one. But I promise you it isn't. There is a huge romance in this book. It is the fuel for the book, but it's not like all that they talk about is how the characters love each other and how they're having sex. Like, it's not a romance novel, I promise. So let me tell you a little bit about the plot, and I will promise you I am not spoiling anything because almost everything I'm telling you either happens within the first 5 pages or is able to be read on the back of the book. So the main characters in this novel are Richard Coulier and his love interest, Elise McKenna. So, when we first open this book, we are slapped with a preface by Richard Coulier's brother. And he's basically saying that he's publishing Richard's manuscript and that everything that is written, Richard believed really happened. That's pretty much it. So, what ends up happening is this man, Richard Coulier, is diagnosed with a brain tumor. It's inoperable, it is terminal, and he is going to die. And he flips a coin and decides to drive, and he ends up at this hotel. While he's there, he goes to a museum inside the hotel and sees a picture of this actress, Elise McKenna, and he falls completely in love with her through this picture, becomes obsessed with her, thinks about only her, and becomes convinced that he was back in time with her and tries to will himself back in time to meet her. And that's pretty much the plot of the novel. It goes on from there. I thought it was a great book. I read it in about 4 days. I loved it, and if I had to say 1 or 2 bad things about this book, it would be that the fact that the guy fell completely head over heels in love with a woman that he had never met before was a little weird to me. For a second I was kind of like, alright, hold the phone, what's going on? But after you get past that, it's pretty easy to just fall into the book and forget that you even had those like little problems with it. Another problem that I had with the book, and I use the term problem lightly, was it took a while. Like, most of the book is him trying to get back in time. Once he's there, everything seems to go really, really fast. It just kind of felt like the author might have lost a little bit of steam when he was writing the ending, and although it was good, it was just so rushed. I feel like I wanted more time. I wanted to go back and reread it immediately after I finished it because I was like, is that really just what happened? Like, that was it? That was all I got of the second half of the book? It wasn't short, but it was just immensely fast, and maybe that's because I read it fast. I have a tendency to do that, but I don't know, it seemed a little bit fast to me. Let's talk about the book's movie. So the movie was filmed, I believe, or released in 1980, and it flopped in the theaters. A lot of people speculate this is because there was an actors' strike and the actors weren't promoting the movie. But when it went on to cable TV, people really saw how great it was. And it was great. It was a great movie. Christopher Reeve played Richard Coulier. Jane Seymour, who is so beautiful, played Elise McKenna and really brought her character to life. And Christopher Plummer played a smaller part, but he was awesome too, of course. This movie was great. It was filmed great. The scripting was great. And I think part of the reason why was because Richard Matheson actually wrote the screenplay. So let me tell you that the theme to this movie was probably one of the most emotional pieces of music that I have heard. It was fantastic. I have it on my iPod. I listen to it all the time. And I think that if you're going to read this book, you should probably listen to the music because the music really, I've never had this happen before, but this instrumental music tells the story. It's great. Now, book to movie. There were a few little differences and nuances. Number one was that though in the book, Coulier has cancer and a brain tumor, in the movie he does not. And that changes things pretty drastically towards the end, and that was kind of something I was like, about. But honestly, even though that was probably the biggest change that they made, I still really liked the movie. There were other little things, like instead of traveling back to 1890, he travels back to 1912, which isn't that big of a difference. And I think that even with all of these differences and little nuances, it completely got the plot across. Though they changed things, everything seemed really on track and on point. So I really enjoyed it. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it an 8. They took some things out, but honestly, great movie, and I would watch it again and again and again. The book, I would probably give an 8.5 out of 10. I loved it. It was so fantastic. I don't know if I'd rate it again, but it was great. And if any of you have had reservations about seeing this movie, which I know I had at first because I heard some really terrible things about it, please watch it before you judge it, because it really is fantastic. And if you've heard about the book but thought it was really not your thing, I hope that my review would sway you a little bit, because it was really awesome. I hope you liked my review. If you did, like and subscribe and comment and do all that jazz. And I'm always looking for recommendations, whether it be on books, music, movies, television, anything. So please comment if you have anything to say. I'll see you later.